Hello, a quick video to explain how the transfers work. So we've changed a little bit about how the transfers are stored in the database. The changes are mainly around what we're actually storing. So before we had very many types of transfers, from airport to the pier, la 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 la. All of these things now can be simplified. So we no longer need an awful lot of permutations of transfers. We just need to know if they change in terms of price. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a transfer here and explain a little bit about how that works. So if we chose SPT as a provider, because it's the most simple, but the principles apply to all providers. So we would call this one standard transfer from airport to hotels. It might be on the south side of the island, Tahiti South or something. Oh, shout south. So this would mean this is a standard rate. So there would be a rate for this, and that's why we would add it. So we wouldn't need to add one for each hotel. We would just add one for all the hotels that cost the same price, or all the types of transfers that cost the same price. So it could even be, airport, hotel, ferry, whatever. As long as the prices are the same, the rates, we only need to add one object into the database. So transfer airport hotels to Tahiti South. It's not a round trip. It doesn't need to be archived. So we just go ahead and save that. Now, once that's saved, it's fairly straightforward. Like before, we just give that a rate. So we can just add a transfer rate for that, and we give it a valid from and a valid to. So we'll choose South Pacific Transport, and then we would choose standard transfer, and then we'd say valid from maybe the start of May until the end of August. So give it a season, and we'll just say that this is 5,000 francs, and the markup percentage might be 7%. We can probably even give that 10 if you want. So there we go. There's a standard rate created for a standard transfer. So once the transfers are added to the database for all the different types of rates that you guys get, you'll see now that each of the objects, in terms of flights, ferries, activities, etc., have a departure time and an arrival time for all activity start time, activity end time. And the reason why we have that is because now when we add a transfer, so we'll use the one that I just created, standard transfer from airport to hotel, we'll give it 2 packs, and we'll say it's on the first day, and we'd give it maybe arrival, international arrival, and or you know what, we'll make it a little bit more interesting. We'll say that they're coming back from Huahine and they're going back to the Intercontinental, so I'll change that to the date, and we'll give it a coefficient of 7 or 10 or whatever. Once this is added, the system actually goes ahead and picks up the time of the return flight. So we can see here that this arrival time is 7 o'clock. So now in the transfer, you can see that it's picked up the arrival time as 7 o'clock. So this will allow us to manage multiple transfers, so across many bookings. So maybe if this flight is cancelled or if it is delayed, we can update all of the bookings at the same time without having to manually change each one, because now the transfers are linked from a flight to a particular hotel in this booking. So we know all of the transfers that are linked to this flight. If we need to update them, we can just simply use a small tool that I will give to Guillaume and Mr. Hino, that will allow us to update the info for all transfers that are linked to that flight or to that activity or to that ferry, whatever we like. So that's kind of the way the system works. It's very simple. You just use the pick up and drop off from the booking. So you need to have added the objects into the booking. Obviously I've added hotels and flights and things. You can also use the international arrival and the international departure. What's actually happening is the system is working out how to generate the time. So we have a function called transfer pickup calculate. So this calculates what time the pickup should be at. So for each type of pickup. So if the pickup is from a flight, if the pickup is from an international flight, if the pickup is from an activity, a ferry, it applies a different set of rules. The most complicated rule really is if the pickup is from a hotel, then we need to know where they're going, because if it's an international flight, so you can see here, if it's a hotel pickup for an international flight, then we actually ask them to pick up 3 hours in advance. So the system is able to work out what type of pick up and drop off it is, and if the drop off is an international flight or an activity or a ferry or a flight, it can apply a different set of rules to each of those. That being said, it can be overridden. If you need to change the time manually, you can still change it. This might happen in Europe for some reason. It might even happen in Japan if the agent just feels that the time is incorrect for a pickup. They can just change that directly in here. So this data will be made available for SPT Transport and probably Alba or any of your partners in the islands. We can make an Excel sheet that's up to date automatically. It refreshes the data every couple of minutes or something like that, so that if we make changes, they would be immediately aware. So it's connected data. Thanks very much, and I will see you tomorrow.